Test Drive with Graham Fletcher.
This week on Test Drive we look at the 1992 Ford Tempo. Now in previous years the knock against this car has been a dreadful lack of power. Thanks to a new V6 option, that should no longer be a concern. The Tempo suspension is fully independent, featuring nitrogen gas pressurized struts and hefty sway bars both front and rear. The sporty nature of the suspension means the ride is on the firm side, but in keeping with the theme of the GLS model. During the pylon test, the Tempo tracked a surprisingly true line for a nose-heavy car. Only when pushed hard did any degree of understeer develop, a true testament to the suspension and low-profile Firestone Firehawk radials. Body roll is equally well controlled, with the car feeling sure-footed for the most part. Only on washboard-type tarmac did the whole thing begin to feel a little jittery. The tyres also thump quite loudly over expansion joints. The instrumentation is analog in configuration and provides the driver with sufficient information that is easily retrieved. The remainder of the dash is well laid out with only a couple of minor quibbles. As far as the climate controls are concerned, the fan switch is set in a different plane from the temperature and direction controls. Also, the rotary wiper controls located on the side of the instrument housing is not as easy or convenient to use as the more popular stalk type. Minor complaints in themselves, but cumulatively they make life unnecessarily difficult. Overall, the fit and finish is quite good, the exception being the defroster vents. They look as though someone used a hacksaw to cut the final hole. The driving position is good, with the front seats providing the required level of comfort and support despite their rather flat appearance. Accessing the rear seat in the two-door model requires a fair amount of agility. Once back there though, the amount of head and legroom is generous and the seating is comfortable. The trunk is positively huge. It is also well laid out, although the liftover could do with being a little lower. This 3-litre V6 is what differentiates the 1992 Tempo from previous years. Prior to this year you could only get a 4-banger. Now the knock against that is the fact that the immediate competition for this car, being the Chev Cavalier, has offered a 6 for a number of years. Tempo's new 3-litre V6 offers sequential multi-port fuel injection as well as 140 horses. This ensures a very good power-to-weight ratio. On the skid pad, the Tempo turned in 0 to 100k times of a titch over 9 seconds. Matched with this engine is a close ratio 5-speed manual transmission. The gate is, for a North American car at least, surprisingly clean and crisp, and the clutch, despite its long travel, is progressive with the bite point easy to find. Around town, the close ratio gearbox requires a lot of shifting, partly because of the short ratios and partly because of the amount of engine noise encourages you to upshift to a higher gear where the engine noise settles down to an acceptable level. Some additional sound insulation probably wouldn't hurt. Stopping power is supplied by a conventional power-assisted front disc rear drum setup. During the brake test we averaged stopping distances of 122 feet from 80k. A point that is sure to haunt Ford is the lack of ABS, even as an option. Prior to the 92 model year it probably wouldn't have mattered. At the moment it certainly does, because the Chev Cavalier offers ABS as a standard item. My pet peeve on the Tempo is a relatively simple one. When you apply the parking brake on a grade, the headlights go out. The net result is that in traffic you end up flashing erroneous signals to oncoming traffic. Anyway, now to the scoreboard for a rundown on the 1992 Ford Tempo. As I indicated, the suspension is on the firm side. This and the excellent rubber give the Tempo surprisingly good handling characteristics. It by far and away exceeded my expectations in the pylon test. The extra cylinders and abundance of horsepower and torque provide plenty of power. If the transmission were the equal of the engine, we would have been able to better the 9 seconds we required to reach the 100k mark. No sooner you're into first gear when you're forced out of it. A rethink of the ratios would be really nice. The power-assisted disc drum setup provided good stops, averaging just 122 feet from 80k. The lack of an ABS feature is going to hurt sales though. Let's hope when the redesigned Tempo appears this situation has been addressed. The level of comfort provided is fairly good despite the firm suspension. Wind noise has been kept to a minimum and the engine noise only intrudes in the first 3 gears. We averaged a commendable 10 litres per 100 kilometres or 28 miles per gallon, a pleasant surprise given the performance. Despite my criticisms, the 92 Tempo is a nice little car. The addition of the V6 is particularly welcome and now puts it on an even footing with most of the competition. Tempo has been the best-selling car in Canada, and with some revisions it's ready to regain that mantle.